Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. If you guys could subscribe, that'd be great. Getting ready for Heat and Cavs tonight. I don't know how it's going to go. Miami Heat are double-digit dogs. Tyler Hero's a question mark. I'm going to be on the pregame coverage today on the radio broadcast, so if you guys tune in, that's fantastic. Would appreciate it, but with all the injury concerns, I want to get to something that actually happened after the Wizards game. That Spo had some interesting comments, and I want to play them for you. You guys let me know what you think in the comments on it, but I'm going to give you my thoughts on it as well because I thought it was pretty interesting. I haven't heard him say anything like this in a while to Heat fans, which felt in the realm of be patient, but he didn't go full be patient because he's the ultimate, competitor and he's the win now guy, but it did feel like he was trying to send a message to Heat Nation, and I thought it was interesting. Here was Spo after the Wizards win.
Look, we have a lot of different chapters of this season, but if you just take this segment, with the change, there's a lot more good things, and I love the expectations of this franchise and this city right now. But we also understand that there is a process to this, and there's some damn good things happening. We've had some heartbreaking losses, but within some of those losses, you see some great basketball being played and some really good habits that are being built in a short period of time. It's an unselfish group. It's a group that really wants to see other guys have success. That's a hard thing to capture, but it's a powerful thing, and you can build on that very quickly. But we have multiple guys that can pass. We have guys that can move without the ball. And hopefully we can continue to build on that. I see upside with our offense for sure.
All right, so there you go. And, more the first half of the quote was the thing that I found interesting because he mentions, I love the expectations that this team has in the city, which have become vast. Look, this isn't a case of people – I don't think this is a case of Erik Spoelstra calling Heat fans out and saying Heat fans are spoiled. I don't think that's the case because, they're a championship organization, haven't won a championship in over 10 years. So I don't think that while they've had good success and really good success and have had unexpected success in some seasons, I do think that I don't think that it's fair to say that the Heat fan is spoiled to have expectations and high expectations and lofty expectations. You're a franchise that always likes to put itself amongst the Warriors and the Lakers and the Celtics and all that type of stuff. And they've all won championships more recently than you. And then, we're watching right now on the other side of things, Heat fans are seeing Jimmy Butler in a Warriors uniform. And while I think the Warriors fan is starting to get the enigma that is Jimmy Butler as a player in that he's not going to light it up every day and he's not going to be able to give you 15 free throws every night. He is a guy that always makes the right basketball play, and you can very clearly see that Steph Curry is reinvigorated as a player. But the Miami Heat are now in this spot where Spo, it feels like he wanted to tell Heat fans, hey, this is kind of what it is right now. We're trying to go through, he says the term process, and it really has been a year of so many chapters, but it's also been, I think, in some ways frustrating because you come out of the gate with maybe this is going to be the last dance, and then you realize very quickly it's not going to be. But the other story to this season has just been their ability to get through games and be able to get to the finish line on wins. It's just been few and far between. There's been so many seasons, and there's been so many games this season that have been full of collapses and heartbreak. And he likes to put it in there saying, well, there's been a lot of great basketball played. And it's like, yes, but why has it been so hard to get to the other side of that? And is that something that's fixable with this roster? Is that something that is doable? Like, is that on you? Like, why is it there? And so I find it interesting that he puts it under this perspective of, I know what the expectations are, and he loves that, but is sitting here and is like, well, but you have to realize that there is good things happening here. And that's That's a Spo MO. He will do that from time to time, and he's thrown that out a couple of times. He threw that out at the end of the West Coast trip, where the Heat started off 3-0, and then they lost the last three. But I don't know, man. I do think that this season has had a little bit of unfulfillment as far as it just feels like it just hasn't had a lot of juice to it, especially after all the Jimmy stuff happened. Like, I really thought that when Jimmy was gone, I wasn't necessarily going to picture the Heat to be better, and I'm not just, but it almost felt like when the Jimmy thing was over, that the adversity that the Heat love to thrive in and he loves to thrive in almost felt like it was gone and no one's watching us anymore. And it kind of set it aside. So I think if the Heat fan if you feel that frustration for the Heat fan, I think it's looking at that being like, well, yeah, man, like you guys, dropped your first, you dropped 6 out of 7 after the trade happened. Like, we've barely gotten to see Andrew Wiggins in a Heat uniform. Jaime Jaquez Jr. has taken a step back this year. Nico now has a broken hand, and Kel'el Ware now has a sprained knee. And this is even on top of the things where he had to fight to basically give him the roles that people wanted to see from this season anyway. So if that's what frustration is of not seeing the process, I think that there's been a lot of Heat fans that want to see the process and want to see young guys go out there and flourish. I think that's one of the things I was encouraging about seeing Pelle out there doing what he did, because, dude, no disrespect to Kyle Anderson, but like, you've had, as thrilling as his minutes can be, and as great as it is that he can do some of the between stuff, I want to see, all right, if we're going to be in a season like this and Bam and Tyler are going to do their thing, can the other guys step up? Even guys who might get an opportunity in this Cavs game, like Keyshawn Johnson. I'm excited to see that, because I want to see what the youth is going to be like. If I'm going to deal with heartbreak with young guys who are going to be in the fire there. Figure out what you're going to get out of Davion Mitchell. Figure this stuff out, because that's really where we're at. But when he's out here and he's just like, yeah, there's a lot to like this season, and there's been a lot of good basketball being played. It's like, yeah. But the other thing of that is, when there's really good basketball being played for a good portion of the game, and it mostly has ended up with it blowing up in your face, when you see the good here, in the moment, it feels down here. And there's no fan who's sitting here. No regular fan is going to sit here, Spo, and watch film the next day and be like, I really liked those possessions in the second quarter. Nobody watches sports like that. Nobody. There are hardcores. There are people who break it down and do the film work on Twitter, and there are the hardcores out there who can maybe be more measured. But most people are up here, and when the game ends, they're down here, and they kind of just stay down here until the next game is, and the result is the result. So I can respect the coach saying that there's a lot of good happening. But ultimately, it has felt mostly like, hey, he wanted to hint towards a rebuild. Not a rebuild, but we're in a step back situation right now after the Jimmy Butler era, even with the expectations always being lofty in the city, and he loves that the expectations have become lofty. He is a big reason for that. Erik Spoelstra is a big reason for that. Even when people didn't even know if he was going to be a good coach, he has shown you in the highest heights of adversity that he can get it done. And I think that from that standpoint, he's earned some trust. I've not been part of these people who have I've never thought for 1 second this year, Erik Spoelstra's not the right man for the job. Have I thought that he's had a great year? I would say no. I don't think that he has. But his standard is very high. It's almost like the reason I feel that way about Erik Spoelstra is because his standard is through the roof. That's how good a coach everybody, I think, thinks that he is. So when he's a man who's kind of searching for it, and he said this the other day where he's like, I don't necessarily know that I'm making the right decisions. It's like, but you're supposed to. You're the guy, dude. We look to Erik Spoelstra as everybody who watches this team, and it's like he's supposed to be the guy, because he always feels like the guy who's a step ahead. And it's always felt like hesitant to play Kel'el, even though very clearly his best player wanted him to play Kel'el, and then finally, all right, he's playing Ware, and Bam's numbers, what do you know? They got up. So, I don't know. But I do I did like how pumped up he was about Pelle Larsson after the game. And I'm hoping that we get to see more of that coming up here with this Cavaliers game, because you could tell, like, that's a guy that Erik Spoelstra is going to dig. Like, I really feel like as long as he stays out of foul trouble, because I think he's a solid defender, but if he's but he guards tenaciously. As long as he can stay out of foul trouble, I think there's going to be a positive influence there from him.
We talked about, that's a challenge. Who's going to bring it? And tonight, we definitely felt Pelle. He brought that energy, brought that extra oomph that carried over to everybody else. And in some swing moments of the game, he just seemed to have his imprint. With the deflections, the steals, the timely cuts, all of that. And he's had some bottled up energy, and he's a competitor. He wants to be out there. He feels like he can help. And he gave us some really productive minutes tonight. That was inspiring.
I just feel like with Pelle that he's such an A+ Heat guy. Like, and it's interesting because they talk about him like, oh, he comes into this as like a perennial role player, which is okay. And I'm not sitting here thinking like Pelle Larsson is going to be a star or whatever, but those are guys that are important to all this, right? And you do need to find guys who could do the marginal stuff that don't need the ball in his hands. And he's doing a lot of that, finding cuts, the Jaime stuff that made Jaime so successful last year. That's, I think, been lost on Jaime a little bit this year. But it's more than that as far as just an energy that he plays with, just a bounce to his step. And he's hungry right now, dude. Like, he's going to take these last 25 games or so, not even 21 games left, and show this organization what he's got. I hope that he gets that chance. Now, tonight, if Tyler doesn't play, he's for sure going to get minutes. If Tyler does play, I don't know, because Davion Mitchell is back. But I really would like to see Pelle Larsson out there in a role with this team. And same way with Keyshawn Johnson. Like, I think it's important for the Miami Heat to go into this thing and be like, all right, we did draft these guys. We're at a point right now. We're in this 7 seed. We're probably not going to get lower than 8th. Probably not. Just because, like, the schedule is not easy, but it's also not daunting. We got some Wizards games in there. And realistically, the Heat kind of are where they are right now. Can they make a run? Yeah. I mean, if you looked at the team, you said they had 20 games left and you're 5 games back in the 6th spot. But this team has shown no ability to put anything substantial as a run together. They haven't won 3 games since the beginning of January. And you're 2 games up on Atlanta. So you would feel like, just knocking down the schedule, like the worst the Heat are probably going to be this week. Probably getting to the end of the week. Like, the next 4 games are Cleveland, Minnesota, Chicago, Charlotte. I would hope a normal team at worst would be 2-2, even with their injury situation right now. And if Tyler is back, especially for the weekend, I would hope. Like, if you don't have Tyler Hero, then you're really going to be struggling to score points. Really struggling to score points. But the realism of it is like the Heat probably are probably going to be in the play-in, and they're probably going to be in the top half of the play-in, which means they just need to win 1 game to make the playoffs, which means they're going to probably lose one of their picks. They're going to get the Warriors pick because the Warriors right now are pretty firm, are looking really good, and don't look like they have any signs of not making the playoffs the way they've been going, but it's much more bunched up in the Western Conference. Although Dallas, you got to kind of knock them out. Maybe Phoenix makes a run now because Kyrie just went down. The point is, I'm getting off topic. Pelle is, to me, just a perfect guy. You could hear Erik Spoelstra going, oof. Ooh, like he's almost like, getting excited like the Macho Man, like, ooh, bringing that oomph to this team, and they need that. I really just think that the way that he can just get, deflections, get his hand on the basketball, cause disruption. He did that almost immediately into the game where like he's going to try and like bounce a ball and get possession back for the Miami Heat. He flies all over the place. He was huge in preseason, and I'm kind of disappointed he actually hasn't been able to find a role this year, but I get it because you've had to already sit here in a situation where like look how long it basically took him to get to where they weren't playing Terry Rozier anymore. So I don't know. I just think that from this standpoint, young is important. Play the young guys. I've been through that. If you're going to tell me, if Spo's going to sit here, tell me after a game, and I know it was against the Wizards, but tell me after a game, okay, I know I love that the fan base has high expectations. We've been through a lot of chapters and there's good happening here. But I hope that he realizes, hey, like the most important part of that good is like get the guys reps, get the guys minutes that matter. That's the important thing right now. And I'm not saying Pelle Larsson has to start, but give him a role, give him minutes, see if he can help bring that juice up. I think like you saw with Haywood Highsmith these last couple of games where the Heat looked really good. Unselfish, move the ball, make the easy play, the natural play. I think that's why like guys like Duncan and Haywood getting more minutes. You've seen the assists kind of rise up for this team. You've seen the extra possessions rise up for this team. I think that they're a reason for that. And I think Pelle is of that mold. So I'm hopeful that equates to him maybe getting a little bit more Runsky. I don't know. We'll see. But the guy certainly worked out like a monster. And yeah, there are things that he has to like fine tune for sure, but he's working his ass off at that. And I think that obviously he's not valuable enough to be sent to Sioux Falls. Like they have never done that. So he's kind of just been sitting idly by, just ready to go out there and make it. Is that going to happen tonight against Cleveland? Hey, Cleveland's a monster. I don't know. But I just think I want to see more of him. I know that. I guess out of all this, what I know is I want to see more of Pelle Larsson.
Really encouraged about that because he understands, what his role is. He came in as a role player, an elite role player in college on a very good basketball team. And some people view that as a negative. We viewed it as a real positive, and somebody also has upside still because of his work ethic. He's tenacious, behind the scenes. That's why he's able to stay ready. Is he puts in so much time. It's 2 or 3 workouts a day. You have to kick him out of the gym, but he wants to continue to improve. He wants to find ways where he can help. His energy, his defense, his toughness, he puts his face in there on everything. That's a great start. And then, we're figuring out, he knows how to play off the ball. He's done it his whole, career.
All of that is Goosey's, dude. Like, that is Goosey's on top of Goosey's. And by the way, Rock, you're stealing my bit. Goosey's on top of Goosey's. When you're like, works out 3 times a day, tenacious, have to kick him out of the gym, stick his face in there. I'm just like, hey, man. Those are all the qualities you love. Play him more. Let's see. Yeah, there's probably going to be games where he goes out there, he gets 3 fouls in 3 seconds. Would I be surprised if he went out there today and he fouled Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell 3 times in 30 seconds? No. But would I prefer that as opposed to sitting his ass and getting sitting his ass on the bench and getting numb? No. Bright lights tonight. Big game. Short-handed. Let's see some of Swedish Swish.